In 1995, a farmer's hoe struck something hollow in the yellow earth of Shanxi. He scraped away the dirt and found a skull with a bronze arrowhead embedded in the jaw. 2 feet to the left, more bones. 2 feet to the right, more bones. He had cracked open a mass grave, so dense the skeletons were tangled together like roots. For 2,000 years, historians thought the stories were exaggerated. They said the ancient scrolls were lying, that no single battle could result in 400,000 dead men. But the farmer proved them wrong. He hadn't found a grave. He had found a layer of the earth's crust made entirely of human beings. And the terrifying part isn't that they died. It's why they died. They weren't killed by a plague or a surprise attack. They were led into the slaughterhouse by a genius, a man who had memorized every military book ever written, but had never smelled the copper scent of blood. His name was Zhao Kuo. History would call him the Paper General, the man who proved that being the smartest person in the room is exactly what gets you killed. In the capital of Zhao, 260 BC, Zhao Kuo was the celebrity of the court. He was young, handsome, and brilliant. He could quote the art of war backward. When he spoke about tactics, the older generals fell silent because his logic was flawless. He treated war like a video game played on easy mode. No hunger, no morale meters, just a clean system where X always counters Y. But there was a glitch in his programming. His father was Zhao Shu, a legendary veteran who had spent his life in the mud. In their house, a chilling ritual played out. Father and son would sit across a chessboard. The son, the prodigy, would destroy the father in every debate. He would outline complex encirclements and theoretical traps. The father would lose the argument, but he would never smile. When Kuo's mother asked why he wasn't proud, the old general said something that would haunt the empire. War is a place of death, but Kuo speaks of it lightly. He saw the fatal flaw. Zhao Kuo thought the map was the territory. He didn't understand the friction of war, the dysentery, the rust, the fear that freezes a man's arm. These things don't exist in the simulation. The old general left a final warning on his deathbed. If the king ever makes Kuo the general, the army is doomed. But memories are short. The old general died, and the enemy was waiting. Across the border, the state of Qin wasn't playing games. They were building a machine. In Qin, you didn't get promoted because of your noble blood. You got promoted based on the number of severed heads you brought back to camp. And at the top of this scoreboard sat Bai Qi. They called him Ren Tu, the human butcher. He didn't fight for honor. He fought to delete the population of the enemy. He had already erased 240,000 men at Yishui. He was a shark swimming in a pool of goldfish. He knew he couldn't beat the veteran defenders of Zhao in a fair fight, so he didn't use a sword. He used a spy. The Qin agents whispered a rumor into the ear of the Zhao king. The Qin army isn't afraid of your veterans, they said. The only man they fear is the young genius, Zhao Kuo. It was a trap baited with ego, and the king took the bait. He fired the veterans and handed command of the entire military, 450,000 men, to the Paper General. The moment Zhao Kuo arrived at the front, he didn't just change the strategy, he broke the machine. He looked at the defensive walls the veterans had built and called them cowardice. He looked at the map of the valley, a rugged, miserable collection of ravines, and he didn't see a defensive anchor. He saw a stage. He was ready to prove that his theories worked. And miles away, hidden in the deep shadows of the Qin camp, Bai Qi was counting on it. Bai Qi knew something the paper general didn't. He knew that an arrogant man is the easiest puppet to control. So, the butcher ordered his army to do the one thing that would make Zhao Kuo lose his mind with excitement. He ordered them to run. It happened at dawn. The Zhao scouts reported that the Qin lines were breaking. The terrified Qin soldiers were throwing down their weapons and fleeing in panic. To a veteran, this would have smelled wrong. Armies don't just break without a fight. But to Zhao Kuo, this looked exactly like page 45 of his textbook. When the enemy routs, you pursue. It was the ultimate confirmation bias. He didn't see a trap. He saw his own genius being validated. He gave the order, all units, advance. He emptied the fortress. He left his supply train behind. He committed 450,000 men, the entire male population of his state, into the narrow valley. They surged forward like a flood, cheering, chasing the fleeing enemy, convinced the war was already won. They didn't know they were marching into a geological coffin. The valley isn't a battlefield, it's a bowl. It has steep, vertical walls of yellow earth that rise up like prison bars. Zhao Kuo pushed his army deep into this bowl, chasing the Qin tail. But then, the fleeing Qin soldiers did something strange. They stopped running. They turned around at a pre-fortified wall, manned the ramparts, and stood like iron statues. The Zhao wave slammed into this wall and shattered. They were stuck. And that is when the trap snapped shut. In less than 48 hours, Zhao Kuo had lost everything. While he was chasing glory in the front, Bai Qi had sent elite mountain infantry silently through the peaks to seize the rear. Then, light cavalry sprinted through the gaps and severed the supply lines. In one afternoon, the paper general was cut off from his food. He was cut off from his fortress. He was surrounded on all sides by the vertical walls of the ravine and the waiting crossbows of the Qin. The geography he had ignored had become his jailer. It crept in slowly. The soldiers stopped cheering. They looked at the cliffs above them. They saw the black flags of Qin lining the ridges, looking down at them. They realized there was no way forward, and the road behind them was gone. Zhao Kuo tried to open his books. He tried to find the chapter on total encirclement in a ravine, but there was no chapter for this. The textbook had caught fire. Bai Qi didn't attack. He didn't need to. He knew the most lethal weapon in warfare isn't a sword. It's hunger. He simply locked the gates and waited. The siege of the stomach had begun. An army of 400,000 men burns fuel. To keep that many hearts beating, you need 400 tons of grain every single day. When the trap snapped shut, that number dropped to 0. The descent was rapid. By day 15, the horses were gone. The pride of the cavalry was slaughtered in the mud, their meat divided among the starving squads. By day 30, the valley had been stripped clean. The soldiers tore the bark off the trees. They boiled their own leather armor to make a glue-like gelatin just to have something in their stomachs. This is where Zhao Kuo finally saw the reality of war. It wasn't about formations. It was about the slow, agonizing decomposition of men who were still alive. Then came the silence. The historical records use a phrase too dark to fully translate, Jai Ne Yin Xiang Sha Sha. In the lightless corners of the ravine, away from the officers' fires, Men became unrecognizable to each other. The army was literally consuming itself. The brotherhood of the barracks had dissolved into a primal fight for calories. Zhao Kuo, the man of culture and philosophy, was now the king of a graveyard that was still breathing. On the 46th day, Zhao Kuo knew it was over. There was no relief coming. The king had abandoned them. He didn't send a subordinate. For the first time in his life, he didn't rely on a theory. He gathered his last remaining elite troops, the ones who still had the strength to hold a spear, and led the charge himself. It wasn't a strategic maneuver. It was a suicide run. He threw himself against the Qin fortifications. He wanted a hero's death. But war is not a romance novel. A Qin crossbowman, probably an illiterate peasant who didn't know who Zhao Kuo was, simply pulled a trigger. A bronze bolt slammed into the general's chest. Zhao Kuo fell into the mud. He didn't die with a profound last word. He just died. And when the soldiers saw their golden boy lying dead in the dirt, the illusion broke. 400,000 skeletons dropped their weapons. They raised their hands. They surrendered to Bai Qi, praying for mercy. They thought the horror was over. They didn't know who they were dealing with. Bai Qi looked at the sea of starving, broken men. He didn't see prisoners. He saw a logistical problem. If I let them go, he reasoned, they will just fight me again in 10 years. The human butcher made a calculation, and then he gave the order that would stain the earth forever. Bai Qi didn't tell them they were going to die. That would have caused a riot. Instead, he offered them food. He separated the prisoners into smaller groups. He told them they were being moved to different camps for processing and rations. The Zhao soldiers, desperate and delirious with hunger, believed him. They walked willingly into the ravines. They walked into the killing zones. The geography that had trapped them was now used to dispose of them. The deep, narrow trenches were natural graves. Bai Qi didn't need to dig pits. The earth had already dug them for him. The forensic evidence tells the story. The bones in the pit are shattered, necks snapped. It wasn't a burial. It was an execution. The ravines act like acoustic amplifiers. When the order was given, the sound wasn't human. It was mechanical. Crossbow triggers releasing in waves. A sound like tearing silk, amplified to thunder. Then, nothing. The kind of silence that makes birds flee. 1 minute, 400,000 men. The next, a vacuum of life. Bai Qi looked at the mountains of dead. He had done the impossible, but he wasn't finished. He found 240 survivors, just a handful of boys, barely old enough to hold a spear. He didn't kill them. He gave them food. He gave them water. And then he told them to go home. This was the cruelest cut of all. He sent these boys back to the capital of Zhou, not as an act of mercy, but as a weapon. He needed them to tell the story. He needed them to walk into the city and tell the wives, the mothers, and the king that no one else was coming home. Your husbands are dead. Your sons are dead. Your brothers are dead. We are all that is left. The psychological impact broke the spine of the state. Zhao never recovered. The paper general had lost the war. But the human butcher had killed the future. You would think a man like Bai Qi, who treated human life like arithmetic, would sleep soundly. He had won. He was the most successful general in history. But the mandate of heaven has a way of balancing the books. 3 years later, the butcher fell out of favor. The king of Qin, paranoid and ungrateful, sent him a sword. It was an order to commit suicide. Bai Qi took the sword. He stood in the silence of his room. He looked up at the ceiling, confused. He asked a question to the empty air. What crime have I committed against heaven that I should end like this? He stood there for a long time. And then, the memory hit him, the silence of the ravine. He answered his own question. I deserve to die. At Changping, I deceived 400,000 surrendered men and buried them. This is sufficient reason for my death. He cut his own throat. The ghosts of Changping had finally come to collect their debt. Today, in China, if you walk into a boardroom and someone calls you a paper general, junior, Shang Tanbing, it is the worst insult you can receive. It means you are Zhao Kuo. It means you are smart, articulate, and dangerous. It means you know the theory of how to fix the problem, but you have no idea what it costs. That ravine is still whispering. It's telling us that the most dangerous person in a crisis isn't the idiot. It's the genius who's never been punched in the mouth, the one who thinks the map is the territory, the one who's memorized every answer but never felt the weight of the cost. Zhao Kuo didn't just lose a battle. He proved that being the smartest person in the room is exactly what gets you killed.